welcome to Board Gems. As a follow-up to my video on Conspiracy, how to play and is it a gem, here's a comparison of two editions of the game that were available in English, the 1980s edition from Milton Bradley, and the one from, I believe it was 2019, from Restoration Games. That's a Canadian edition from Milton Bradley. You'll see it has English and French on it, but it's a typical long box for Milton Bradley for the 80s. The Restoration Games version is a standard size Ticket to Ride box, although I think it is slightly thinner. And here are the backs of the boxes. You know, when I was a kid, this was pretty common. Like if you were moving, you didn't have to put your board games in a box. They were already in a box, right? You just tape the box lids shut. I cannot imagine doing that now. The Conspiracy rulebook from the 80s is black and white, is clear, but it's dense. But it does have a very detailed gameplay example at the back of the rulebook. Not much to say about the new rulebook. It is pretty clear. They did kind of a fun thing for page 7. Look at that, there's some extra digits there next to the 7. I wonder what the deal is with that. Anyway, very clear, lots of details and examples. No real complaints about this rulebook. The Milton Bradley edition also included this sheet, giving you a little detail on each of the 8 spies in the game. You can see the horrible pun names. Very bizarre biographies included. I guess they just tried to make them more fun. Here are the agents. 8 in the old, 6 in the new. The old ones were these busts, and it's pretty cool actually. They were double-sided. They were 2 halves that you would push together to form a double-sided bust. Pretty neat and quite large. Only 6 spies in the new edition. They are also double-sided, and each has a little icon representing the special power that spy has. In the foreground are the briefcases, and again, in the old edition, they were 2 plastic bits that you would push together, and 1 solid, is it Bakelite or Bakelite? Anyway, that's the type of plastic that the briefcase is made out of. The boards. I expected the old board to be bigger. It was, of course, in a much larger box, a long box, but it's a single fold. The double fold board from the new edition actually folds out to be a larger board, and the larger board has less wasted space. You see there's lots of wasted space in the corners there of the old edition. Old edition had very strange geography. Like, for example, to get from Berlin to Zurich, you had to go through Bangkok for some reason. I guess you were just trying to lose your tail. You need to get from Berlin to Zurich, but you got a tail, so you gotta lose them. Make a side trip to Bangkok. The new version has a turn counter, because there is a way to play the game, and it's a standard rule in the new edition where there is a timer in the game. Counts down from 20 or 15 down to 0, and then at 0, the game may randomly end, and there's an alternate win condition if that happens. The rulebook doesn't present it as optional, but anyone who's played the old edition knows it's optional. In the old edition, you would write down the bribes to the spies in these Swiss bank books from Yodel Bank. They're perforated so you can tear out a sheet, but I always like to just write directly in the book. And writing is a very good mechanism in this game because it reinforces the permanence of a bribe. You see, in the new edition, each player has one of these boards on the right, they use different art and different orders for the agents for some reason, but they're functionally identical. And use these gold coins, and you start with a bunch of these on your reserve, and you'll move them onto the illustrations of the spies to indicate a bribe to that spy. The downside of that is it doesn't feel as permanent, and it's possible players who don't fully understand the game can get confused and think that maybe they can move coins around from agent to agent. That's why I like writing in the book. It's just a reminder that this is a permanent action. Because you have these boards, you also need player screens. So each player has one of these player screens matching one of the corners of the board, and on the back it shows a little player aid, the things you can do on your turn on the left, in the center, a description of the different agent special powers, and on the right, walking you through how a challenge works. And some more components specific to the new edition. On the top left are restricted markers. When you challenge a player and you fail, you put one of these on to remind you that on your next turn, you must pay off an agent, and you can't do anything else. In the original version, you would actually lose your turn, but this is a nice kind of in-between. On the bottom left are burn tokens. When an agent is removed from the game, in game parlance, that's burning an agent or burning an agent's cover. And you represent this by placing one of these tokens on the illustration of the agent behind your screen to remind you that this agent is out of play. On the bottom right, one tile per agent that's dealt out to each player to ensure that each player makes a payoff to a different agent at the start of the game. And on the top right is Dr. Solomon. The standee itself does nothing, it's just a reminder to do something at the end of every round, and the die is the marker for the timer, and you roll it when the timer reaches 0. Standard rule in the new edition: I personally don't play with Dr. Solomon. Thanks for watching. Remember, older games like Conspiracy don't stop being good just because newer games come out. Thank you and take care.